Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, we are going to rank every single one of my bronzers from top to bottom. But before we go any further, let's take a second to grab our iced coffee or a hot coffee. Let's take a sip and let's get started. Now, as many of you know, I now have an online beauty consulting service. And let me ask you a question. Have you ever purchased a beauty product and then got home and had no idea how to use it, how to apply it? That is where my service comes in. This is a video chat one-on-one. You get my undivided attention and you get to talk to me about your beauty concerns, whether it's your existing collection or if you have questions about purchasing something but you don't want that added sales pressure. That's where my service comes in. So to make an appointment for yourself or to get a gift card, click the link in the description box down below. All right, so I have a few bronzers, more than one healthy, sane person needs in their lifetime. So I will start off with my least loved to my most loved bronzers. And I will also tell you about which brushes I prefer to use for application. Okay, so the first item up here is from Dior, and this is from a couple years ago. This is the Dior Skin Mineral Nude Bronzer. This was part of the Wild Earth collection. So this is not a bad bronzer, but it's not a great one either. In comparison to other bronzers that I have that I'm going to show, this one here leans a little bit too orange. And it kind of gives you like that slight pumpkin-y effect. I think when I first bought it, I really loved it and I thought it was great. But then as I've just developed a wider range of bronzers and even from Dior itself, I just find that this one here, I don't know, isn't my favorite. I don't reach for it very often. It is nice. The formula, the texture is lovely, but just something here leans a little bit too warm on me. And so it's at the bottom of the list here at the beginning. Moving on, we have something from Fenty. This is the Matchstick in Mocha. So this is not a bad product. It's a cream product in a stick, so it is convenient for placement. You can just go ahead and sculpt. I don't reach for this very often. I went through a phase a few years ago where I was into more contouring type of makeup looks, and I'm really not into that anymore. I like just a nice, warm, healthy glow, sun-kissed. And so this shade is nice and it does blend out nicely. It's just really not a product that I reach for. As you can see, it blends out really easily when you apply a minimal amount of pressure. And it's not a bad product. It's just not something that I reach for. And I think a lot of these that are at the beginning of the list, they're not bad. It's just in comparison to everything else, they're not spectacular. Okay, so moving on to a product here that kind of breaks my heart to talk about because this is from a brand that's renowned for their bronzers. I just haven't picked up the right one yet. This is from Guerlain, and this is their Terracotta Contour and Glow palette. So the reason why this is at the bottom here is, first of all, I did attempt to pan this palette a few years ago. Clearly it has not worked, but I have done some progress on there we go, flipped upside down. These two here. I don't like this here. This is a blush highlighter duo. I don't like it. This is a bronzer and then a face palette. So I have worn through the logos and I like the product when I use it. I just never think of using it because I don't love the palette overall. This here individually is lovely as well as this one here. So I think what I will do is just purchase a single bronzer from Guerlain that's part of a permanent collection. That way I can just really enjoy it and see what it's like, because this as it is, I just never reach for it because I don't know, like if you have a palette and you are so on like one of the shades and it's such a small palette, you just never go for it. And I would never travel with this because it's so limited in the selection. If I have a larger palette with like 5 shades and I love 4 out of 5, I'm more likely to take it for travel. But with this, if I don't like the only blush option, I'm not going to use it. So let me know in the comments which Guerlain bronzer, preferably permanent collection, I should try out next. Because I know that they are known for their bronzers and the Terracotta series, so I think it was just this item here that doesn't work for me particularly well. Okay, moving forward, I love a lot of these, so I'm just going to be very nitpicky. The first item here is from Benefit, and this is the Hoola bronzer. So everything here is luxury, and I think this is maybe more high-end than luxury. This is like more Sephora level than like Holt Renfrew, but it's still very good. I think a lot of people have bought this little box of bronzer here, and it's a classic for a reason. As you can see, I have hit pan on this powder here, which we can agree is quite a feat. So as a bronzer, it's a really good color. It's matte, it's soft, it gives you that beautiful bronzed summer glow without hitting a hint of orange, which is really nice. It definitely feels more high-end than luxury. It's a little cardboard box, but it's really good. If you are just looking for a good bronzer that's going to work, that won't break the bank, this here is a fantastic option. It has been on the market for years and it's been there for a long time. Like, it's definitely one of those cult classic items that has a lot of reputation, but it's backed up. It's really good. So this is in this collection here. Moving on to something from Gucci Beauty. This is the bronzing powder number 3. So here we do have a slight scent. The Gucci powders, whether it's a face powder or a bronzer, they do have a slight floral scent, so just be aware. So this shade is lovely, and it's a little bit warm as well, but not too orange. However, it does have this slight shimmery satin finish, and I would say it's a little bit more shimmery than some of my other bronzers here. Just to be nitpicky, I find that the shimmer formula, something almost like separates a little bit. Like, it's really lovely. I still really love it and I think it's really beautiful, but just comparing to other ones here, I find that other ones have a more finely milled satin finish where it's more seamless, and here, because I'm being nitpicky for the sake of this video, I can sort of see a little bit of that shimmer separated from the bronzer. If you're a normal person and you're just wearing your makeup, no one is going to look at your cheek like this close up to say, I can see the difference here. I can see that this is, you know, a Gucci bronzer. No one's going to see that. So it's still very lovely. I just have a couple here that have a magic formula for this like soft satin finish, but it's still really nice. The only reason I haven't really dug into this one as much is just because I have a very large collection. I certainly hope that Gucci comes out with blushes as well, because they've done face powder, bronzer, and I would love to see a blush series from Gucci. I like that Gucci Beauty has done like a slow and steady makeup release. They didn't come out with like 500 new things, just like a new launch every couple of years. It's really lovely. All right, moving on to the Charlotte Tilbury Instant Look of Love in a palette Pretty Blushed Beauty. So if we are going by ranking, this would go before Gucci Beauty. I think Gucci is slightly better than this one here. So in this face palette here, the bronzer on me at this point kind of looks more like a face powder. It is a little bit darker for me than a face powder, but as a bronzer, it's incredibly light. Especially once I blend it out, it really just looks quite seamless on me. So this would be an incredibly light, fair bronzer or a slightly dark face powder. It's really not a bronzer on me. I still really like the entire face palette. I think it's really nice, and I probably would travel with this, even though this is not a real bronzer. I like the palette overall, but the bronzer here, the finish is nice. It's a nice soft matte. There's no satin or sparkle finish to it. It's a nice texture. It blends easily. It applies nicely. It's just really not a bronzer on me. It's like a slightly dark face powder. It's what it is. Moving on to my Chanel Les Beiges number 50. I think this is one of my first bronzers that I've purchased, and as you can tell, it's been very well loved and well used. So this here is a perfect color between warm and cool. It's not orange whatsoever. I think Chanel has really developed a beautiful formula. Even with warmer shades, they are never orange, and this is just a perfect balance in between the two. This really just gives you that beautiful sun-kissed glow, like you just got off your yacht on the Mediterranean. I use it a lot, but I have some newer Chanel bronzers that look like they're in a little bit better state. So I don't use this one as much as I used to, but I still think it's a great bronzer. Moving on, we have something here from ByTerry, and look at this beautiful packaging here. This is the Brightening CC palette in Beach Balm. So this bronzer here is really pretty, and I think when I swatch it on my finger, it looks a bit more cool toned, but then when I swatch it on the back of my hand, it transforms into a little bit warmer than I wanted to, and it does blend out really nicely. It just hits far too warm. So I think in reality, this would be a little bit lower. I think it's before the Gucci bronzer. It is nice, and if you do sheer it out, it gives you that hit of warm glow. It's just a little bit too warm. It kind of looks like a blush. I think in order for this to work really nicely, you do have to blend in the blush and highlighter, and I do love this palette, don't get me wrong, I think it's beautiful. I just think that this is maybe just like a hint too warm for me. I understand wanting a warm, beachy bronzer, but I think balancing this with a bit more neutral or cool undertones would make it a bit more workable for me. All right, now we're moving on to the top 5 category, and these are all kind of interchangeable for each other. Like the top 5 here are the best of the best, in my opinion. Moving on to something else from Chanel, we have the Le Beige Healthy Glow Illuminating Powder in Sunset. So this came out last year with the Le Beige collection and was re-released this year. So this has a very beautiful formula. It is a finely milled satin finish woven into this warm texture. Something about the finish looks warm, but more in the golden yellow territory than orange or red. It never looks muddy. It's just a really wonderful formula. Chanel has really found a really great formula as far as colors go, hitting warm without going orange. And it's this beautiful, soft satin, perfect formula of being illuminating and glowy without a chunky glitter. This is what I mean in comparison to the Gucci bronzer. With this here, you don't see any separation between the golden glow of the bronzer and this soft satiny glow as well, whereas the Gucci one, I think there was more separation of the particles. This here is just like, even though it's a powder, it's like a creamy, dreamy finish, so that's why it's in the top 5. Moving on, we have another Chanel bronzer. We may as well include it here now. This is the Le Beige Healthy Glow Bronzing Cream. This had a lot of controversy when it came out. I know it's a new formulation. I personally enjoy it. I do think it's a lovely formula. I understand if you don't like it, but for me it works. So this cream formula here, the finish, the color hits a little bit more neutral cool than warm, but it still looks really lovely as a bronzer. It's just a slightly different finish. And I find that because it's a cream color and a little bit more neutral, it's so natural. It blends very easily and just buffs into your skin and looks like that healthy glow finish. For the cream bronzer here, I prefer to go in with a kabuki brush. This is from Chanel, and I think this was the brush that was suggested as application. Oftentimes when they come out with a product and they tell me I should use a specific brush, I always take that with a grain of salt because it's often just marketing. But in this case here, it actually works nicely. So I just go in with the big kabuki brush like this, and then I buff and blend. I find that the big wide brush like this diffuses the color really seamlessly and just gives me a better application. Also, as an added bonus, the bristles are incredibly soft, so it feels like a little massage as you apply this on your skin. Moving on to an upgrade from Dior. This is the Dior Forever Natural Bronze, and I have the shade number 05 Warm Bronze. Now, even though this is described as a warm bronze, it's nowhere near orange or pumpkin like the first product that I mentioned from Dior. This is part of like the Dior new formulation improvement of every single product in their collection, and I am here for it. So this here is what I'm wearing today as a bronzer, and even though it's a warm bronze and it does look dark, you can blend this out very easily. I do tap my brush so I don't get too much product. I apologize, they are starting construction. I'm speeding this up as fast as I can, but I think it's a really beautiful finish. This is also a matte, so there's not going to be any satin finish, any type of glow of that nature. So this here is just blush and bronzer on top. If you're not sure which color to get, use me as a reference, and I am number 5, and I think that this is a great product. Also, the packaging is amazing. It's this soft leather compact here that's a bit squishy and just really wonderful and very extra. Moving on to Chantecaille, we have the Real Bronze in Sirena. Something interesting about this formula is that it's almost like a gel finish, but it's not squishy. It just feels like an interesting texture, and the color is beautiful. It's warm without going into that pumpkin orange, reddy, muddy category, and the formula has this beautiful satin glow finish without going into chunky glitter category. And it's so finely milled, you're not really going to see a separation between the glitter particles and the rest of the bronzer. It just gives you a very beautiful, very natural, luminous glow. And this one here, you can certainly sheer out and make it even lighter if you wanted to. I think it's just a really beautiful bronzer, and I love anything that's not too warm and has a beautiful soft satiny finish. Okay, our last item here, the top of the top, I guess, but the last 5 are all a little bit interchangeable. This is from Givenchy, and this is the Healthy Glow Powder number 3. So I believe they have changed the packaging of this, but it is the exact same. I think this is one of the most underrated beauty products of all time. For some reason, people don't really talk about this bronzer very much, but it is beautiful. It is exactly what I want. Warm without being too orange. It gives me that perfect, finely milled, satiny glow formula. I think Healthy Glow is in the name, and it is very well suited. It looks so incredibly natural and luminous, and it doesn't even look like bronzer. It just looks like you just have the most beautiful cheeks, and you were just out in the sun, and you just look glowing and radiant, and it's really, really wonderful. I love Givenchy Beauty. I think they have some really great products, and this bronzer here is so underrated. I don't see many people talking about this bronzer, but it's really worth it. Okay, so for brushes, a minute ago I mentioned the Chanel Kabuki brush. I think this is really great for the cream bronzer. But as far as the powders go, there is one brush that I always use, and this is my Refer number 4. I use this for every single one of my powder bronzers. As you can see, it has been used this morning, and I love this because of the shape. I think it's technically called like a cheek brush, but it just perfectly fits where your jawbone is, and you can just sculpt and use it so easily. And I love that it's tapered. I love this little shape here. I find that it gives you such an easy application. You can just sculpt and add bronzer very easily. It is my personal favorite bronzer. I think if you're going to use or buy a bronzer brush, I would go with the Refer number 4. Okay, I think this is it for my bronzer roundup. I don't think I missed any. If you've seen any other ones on my channel and I forgot to mention them, you let me know in the comments. Let me know what are your favorite or least favorite bronzers, and let me know if you enjoy these ranking videos where I just go through all of my products. Are there any other categories of beauty products you'd like me to rank from top to bottom? Let me know in the comments. If you're new to my channel, or if you have been watching me for a while but simply have not subscribed yet, I highly encourage you to do so. Feel free to leave a like, leave a comment. Those are great ways to encourage me here on my channel. And on that note, I think this is all I have for you guys for today. Thank you all so much for stopping by. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.